Hello, today I'm painting a bird nest in a very contemporary style. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Okay, I've got a canvas here that's 12 by 12, and I'm using kind of repurposing a canvas that I covered over with white. Yours will be white probably from the store, unless you're doing like I'm doing and covering over an old canvas. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some white acrylic paint, and for texture, I'm going to take a palette knife and I'm going to go into some white, very thick acrylic paint, and I'm going to add, like in a circular motion, kind of a nest shape in the middle. Acrylic, especially heavy body acrylics, will give you a lot of texture, and it will add to the nest to have this texture. So that's what I'm doing here. And again, you can skip this if you don't want to, but it's fun to get that palette knife out and try that out too. And for that matter, you can use the palette knife for the whole project if you wanted to. I like brushes and palette knife, and I'm going to show you mostly with a brush. But for this first part, it's nice to have a palette knife and get some of that texture in there. And if you like a lot, put a lot. If you just like a little, it's okay too. Or none at all. You can get it very smooth and just be on a smooth surface. It's entirely up to you. You can see a lot of texture there. That's the first part. Okay, my canvas is completely drying, so let's go over supplies. I'm going to be using craft paints or Toll paints, however you see it. I use Craft Smart paints, and I'm going to just choose a lot of pastel colors. I've got, this one's bright magenta. I'm also going to use a yellow green. I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow. It's called bright yellow. I'm going to add that to this green here that comes in the set, citrus green. I'm going to add that for my background green. And then for the mint green, I'm just going to add a little white and a little tiny bit of blue to these two colors here. So that's what I'm going to do for those. And then I've also got a purple. So I've got this really pretty purple here. And to make it pastel, I'm going to add white to that as well, and I'll take you through these as I do them. And then I'm also going to use black for some of the nest portion. And then for the eggs, I'm going to use the bright yellow mixed with white. And I have this other color here. It's kind of an older color. It's called porcelain, but you can mix that with just mixing a little orange with this pink and then mixing a lot of white. You can get this porcelain color. So you don't have to go buy it if you don't want to. It can be mixed. So those are the colors I'm going to use. This one's just a very, very light, almost skin color, peachy color. That's the porcelain. The set's about probably $8 to $12. You can get a whole set of craft paints, and they can last a long time for a lot of projects. Now I'm going to use mine to decorate for Easter, but another idea is Mother's Day is right around the corner from Easter. So you can give this to your mom or Mother's Day and just put enough eggs like your brothers and sisters. Or if you're an aunt, you could give this to your niece that's going to have a baby. It's just fun to give your art as a gift. You know, if they didn't use it for their nursery, they could always use it for Easter decorations. This is a very versatile painting, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you use it to bless others with. Okay, beside my canvas, I have a wet palette. It's just a box with a wet sponge on the back and some parchment paper on the top. I like to keep my paints wet while I'm working with them so they don't dry. Depending on what the temperature is, it can get pretty warm in my studio area, so I like to keep paints moist, and so this wet palette works great for that. You could also use a paper plate though. These are beautiful colors. You can tell I've used these before. If you do leave them in the sun or use them when they're in the sun, they will dry up in the bottle and then be hard to get out. So just be aware of that. Now I'm going to show you a lot of mixes, and this is very forgiving as far as how you mix the colors, whether you mix them on the canvas or on your palette or both. Let's get started. The brush I'm going to use mostly is a 3/4 flat. It looks like this. Just a 3/4 flat brush. It does most of the work for you. And I'm going to use it flat for large spaces and then on its side for more line work. So let's get started on the darkest color first and the background. So I also need black. There we go. For the middle portion of my nest, I'm going to make a gray. I'm going to put that in the middle as a recessed area. That'll make it look deep. Sometimes I underpaint when I paint, and so I'll have a medium tone on my canvas, and that'll show through when I don't paint it solid. And this one, I want the white to show through, so I'm not going to underpaint. So very loosely, I'm standing, and I'm using my whole arm for this. And I'm just going to make a circle in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be even off to the side a little bit. A nest is very natural, organic, so how you do it, less perfect is probably better. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some gray in the middle, a little more white. I'm not going to cover it completely. Just a very dark center. You may need 2 coats depending on what type of paint you're using. Craft paint is not very, high quality. It doesn't have a lot of pigment for the polymer that it's in, so it doesn't cover that well, but you can use that in your art as a plus rather than a minus. Just know what it's going to do so you can work with it. That's my middle area. Now I'm going to rinse my brush out. I've got a large vat of water here that I'm just mixing my brush out thoroughly. The next darkest color is this purple, but I am going to mix it with a little bit of white. So it's not quite as dark. I don't want it too dark, but I'm going to put that on the edges. And again, very loosely in kind of a circle. Here. And I'm going to start kind of going around in a circle with the side of the brush. I'm going to form the nest. Very, very loose. Okay, so it's starting to take shape. Now I'm going to rinse that color out, blot it on some paper towel, and then I'm going to go into my next medium color. I love this pink. I'm going to put some of that pink over here, just right over the top, a couple strokes. Get that pink in there a little bit, maybe a little over here too. And maybe some of there. And then I'm going to mix it with this lighter pink. You could also mix it with white. And I'm going to get some of that in there as well. The one I have, that porcelain color, I'm going to mix a little of that with it too. Make sure these are mixed up before you use them. I'm going to use a little of this color. Mix that in with my paint just to tone it down a bit. I don't want it to be too bright. That's pretty. See me mixing over there. Now I'm going to start adding that color in here. Very loosely. You can see it's already taking shape. Now I'm rinsing that color out, and I'm going to go straight into the what they call porcelain. It's that light peach, almost skin color. I'm going to go into that color. Mix that over here. I'm running out of space here. I like that color so much that I'm going to put some more in. Put it next to my pinks. A lot of it over here. It's just a really pretty color. And it gives your eye a little rest from the darker colors. Let the colors mix a little. It's just really pretty. Now I'm going to mix that up. I can always add more over the top, but for now I'm going to leave that. Now I want to mix that really pretty mint green color, so let me show you how to do that. I'm going to use my green and my white and see where that gets me first. That's a pretty color. And then a little tiny bit of the turquoise is going to give me that really pretty minty color. It's a little more blue there. There we go. White, green, and a little bit of this really pretty. It's almost like a cerulean turquoisey color. That gives you that really pretty mint color. Let's put that in there. Wherever you want. If you like a lot of that color, put a lot in. It really has to go, you know, with your decor, with your likes, if you're decorating, or if you're using it to decorate your own home. Or if you know, if you're doing this for a shower for someone and you know how they're decorating the room, you may want to pop in a few of those colors. Art doesn't have to match the couch or anything like that, or the bedding, but when it does, it's pretty. That's art can be a standalone. I'm gonna mix some of that in there too. I'm gonna mix the bright yellow with the green, and that's gonna give me that lime color, or I could use this straight here. Again, shake it really well. Citrus green. So let's see what I can come up with the yellow and the green. If you don't have citrus, that might be something. Let's see how close yellow and green will get me to that citrus. So let's mix this first. I got a little of the peachy color down below. I'm not worried about that. Ooh, that's really close. A lot more yellow there. There we go. That's pretty close to this color. So either one would work. If you don't have citrus, go ahead and just mix green and yellow together. You probably get something really close. And I let the canvas show a little bit through. I don't mind that. If you want it to be more solid, you'll need to wait till this dries or dry it with a blow dryer and then put on another coat. So let's keep on going in here with this color. Boy, is that a pretty color. I love that. Oh, there's some more down here. And then the other thing too is if you think the sides are going to show, on my sample, I have, it's called gallery wrapped, probably 1.5 or 1 3/4 side that I painted around. And that means you don't have to frame it if you don't want to. This one is a 1/2 inch. I'm still going to paint the sides so I have more options for framing. So I'm painting the sides now in the colors that show on the top. I'm just extending it to the side. So right here there's some pink, so I'm just going to put the pink there. And then right here there's purple, so I'll just put the purple there. So it just kind of looks more finished that way. And this one's so forgiving because it's kind of messy. So on the sides, no worries about getting it exactly right. It'll be just prettier than just white, I think. So go ahead and paint your sides and mix the colors. I didn't even clean my brush that time, although I'm getting into some light colors here. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush out a bit, get it all cleaned out so it'll be a little, these lighter colors really show those darker colors. So I'm going to get some, going to pink there. There we go. And then back over to green on this edge. And I probably should have done this as I went, but I just want to make sure if you want to paint them that you do. Some color in there, that's okay. Go back down there. I think I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and blow dry it, get it completely dry in the background before I add the eggs. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of a detail now with my darker colors over the top. And I'm just going to use that same brush, the 3/4 flat. I'm going to use it on its side. I'm just going to add some of these other colors that I really like. Just to kind of, oops, that got into a little of the yellow, that's okay. Or the green, it's okay. I just want to make sure it looks rounded. So I'm just adding a little bit more definition there. So it just gives that idea of a rounded nest. So that's giving me that look. Maybe a little more purple there. I can mix it with my pink, that's pretty too. Right in here, get that color in there. Make it look more nest-like. And then go into that dark black straight out of the bottle. Clean my brush out a bit, go straight into black, and I'm gonna go ahead and put some squiggly lines. These will be like the twigs that the bird makes the nest with. That kind of looks like that. And I'm just going to very, very few lines. That just makes it look more organic. And you can add a lot of black if you like a lot of black, or just a little and let the color show through. Your choice. This may take a little practice if you haven't done this kind of thing before, but don't get too tight with it. Keep it loose and it'll look pretty every time. A little dark in here in the nest part. That'll pull that nest back. And I think that gray got a little dark on me, so I'm gonna go ahead and go back, revisit that again, put a little more white in there. Got a lot of water too, that's okay. I'm just gonna make a little bit more of a medium gray. Let me see if I can just light, oh, there we go, I like that better. I want there to be a little more difference between the black and the gray. So I'll just go right over the top like that. Now, if you don't like the canvas showing, let me put this up so you can see a little better. If you don't like that canvas showing through, put in another layer of the green, and that will cover a little bit of that. Now remember, if you're using craft paint, it's not going to be nearly as nice of coverage as if you're using artist quality paint. You still can get better coverage if you do 2 coats. Maybe another little stripe in there. And so you just choose. You could even put a little tiny bit of green to set that off better, just regular straight green. Here and there you could add that too, if you want to. I would like to add some straight purple in here, maybe out here. There we go. And maybe a little there too. I'm really happy with that. I'm out different every time I do them. Let's give that another blow dry, and then we'll really add the eggs this time. Oh, one more thing. I think I would like just a little bit more of this skin color. I just want to put that just in a couple places like that. Tone down some of the colors a bit. Maybe just in here a little bit. That just looks really pretty and more finished looking. So that's just how I feel about it there, like that. And it puts another coat of color on there for you. And you just choose whether that works for you. I just think it looks pretty. Okay. You don't want to lose the round shape, so keep on revisiting that. That's why I stand away from it, so I can kind of assess it as I go. A little of that color here too. Okay, I'm going to blow dry it again, and I'll get back with you on the eggs. Okay, let's start those eggs. So for this part, if you don't feel comfortable just winging it, putting them in there with paint, go ahead and grab a chalk pencil or just a garden variety piece of chalk. If you're doing 2 eggs, draw 2 circles. So just draw a round circle, make a dot over to the side of it, and then bring your circle to that dot, and then just keep on coming around. And make sure your background is completely dry before you do this portion. So the circle right here, a little line there, and then just match them up. You can make them the same size. You can make them more rounded. It's up to you. And what's really nice about the chalk is after you're completely done and everything's very dry, you can just wash the chalk off. It will not stick to the paint. And then with a smaller brush, either a round brush, this is a number 3 round, there's that one. Or you could use a number 4 filbert brush. That looks kind of like a fingernail. It's just a flat brush, and then it's got the corners rounded. So that's a really nice brush for this too. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a little bit of yellow mixed with white. So very light yellow is what I'm going to use for my eggs. You could use light mint. Any color that shows lighter than the background will work. Just get a light yellow. That's just the color I chose. And I'm just going to probably add a couple coats and just paint them in there like so, following that chalk line. Just like that. I usually put a bead on the end or on the side of my brush and follow that through, make it real smooth. You can see some of the texture through, and that's okay. You could use thicker paint and get rid of that texture if you wanted. There's another one. There's a lot of texture right there. I could add a lot of paint right there, and that would cover that if I wanted. If you don't want the background showing through, just keep on putting more and more yellow over the top, several layers. Once they dry, you can put another layer on. If you want to add a bit of a shine for more of a 3D, this could be just fine the way they are. But if you want to go a little more 3D, just add a little more white. Choose a side. This is the lighter side here, so I think I'll choose this side to make it lighter. And just lighten up your eggs on that side. If you want to make that even more pronounced, go into straight yellow and make one side of the egg a little darker yellow. and that'll make that more pronounced. And you can do that even more if you want, depending on how you want your eggs to look. So there we are. There is a nest. Another thing you could do is if you want to set them down a little bit more, you could put a little black line underneath them. I'll show you what that looks like. I like mine just the way it is, but I'm going to give you some options here. You could also add a little black underneath, like that. And that just sets them down a bit. You could even make it all dark down back there. Just a little darker gray. Blend that in a little more if you wanted. However you want to do it. The more painterly, the better on this kind. Now there's another thing I'd like to tell you about that could make this fun, is after it's completely dry, you may want to add some spots on your eggs. Some spatter maybe would work for that, because sometimes eggs can be spotted. So let me show you how to do that real quick. Get your painting completely dry and then come back and do this part with me. Okay, I'm back again and I've got it completely dry, and I'm just going to go in with a toothbrush. I like this one that has a end on it that I can grab. With a toothbrush, I'm going to make some spatter. And before I do that, I'm going to think about where I want that spatter to be, and I want it mostly on the eggs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a damp cloth handy, and instead of blocking out the areas where I don't want the spatter to go, I'm just going to very quickly wipe off the spatter that I don't want after I'm done. And oh, if you want to save your manicure, you'll want to use gloves for this part. I'm not too picky, as you can tell. So there's my spatter. And then very quickly, I'm going to take it off in the places I don't want it. Reach around here. Just wipes right off. But I'm just going to keep it on the eggs. I think it just looks pretty on the eggs. But you can have it all on your nest. And I can leave some out there. I don't mind a little out there, but I don't want it in the nest part. I just want the eggs to show, the spatter. So if that's something you like to do, just add that with an old toothbrush. It's always a nice thing to have in your artist bin. So there we go. That's kind of fun. You just take off the spatter that you don't want. And then another thing to do is after you get it dry, once again, and it's beautiful the way it is, but this is just if you want to add another color, or maybe you want some more line work in there. You can also use these oil pastels. I have Craypaw, I think it's called, Craypaws? Expressionist? I'm not even sure where I got these, but they're really fun to add other colors. And I wanted to add just a little bit of blue. I like this blue here, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to show you, as long as you have acrylic on the back and oil on the top, you're okay. You would not want to use these to sketch out your work, because oils don't mix with acrylics. If you put acrylics on top, they won't adhere. So make sure if you do use anything oily, that it's on the top of your acrylic. I just want to make sure to note that, so you don't think that you can sketch with these. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of, just to give you other options. I'm just going to add it in some places, just to show you what it looks like. It's just kind of a neat look. And it almost looks like the nest has other things in it. I'll show you what that looks like real close. It's just really pretty. And next to other colors, it'll stand out more. If you get it really in there with the pink, it'll really show beautifully in here with the green. And it just looks really pretty, and it kind of finishes it off. So I don't think it actually has to have it. And then I can feel my canvas has a wood frame, and I can kind of feel that as I use this. I can feel that under there, and it could distort your drawing, so be aware of that as well. But that's really pretty. If you look at that up close, you can really see that. So now I'm going to call it done, and I'm going to go ahead and sign it. I have a brush that I use almost every time for signing, and that's a number 3 Artist Loft brush in a little bit of black. And I'll go ahead and sign my picture. I just go right over the top and just sign like I would my signature. Dip again. There we go. Here's my signature. And once it's completely dry, I have one more step for you, and then we'll be done. Next step is to protect it. From Michael's, I bought some Deco Art Duro Clear Gloss Varnish. This will finish it off beautifully. If you like the matte finish, this also comes in a matte. And all you do with this is make sure it's shaken up. And I usually dedicate a brush just for this step. So I put this right on here. And it's milky and white and it looks bad at first, but no worries. If you just take a large brush, this is a 1-inch brush from Connoisseur, and I just take this brush and I very gently, I don't rush this too much, give it a nice complete coat, and it has a beautiful finish to it. I'll put it up so you can see. Isn't that beautiful? It actually brings out the color too. And I just put this over it. And then I wait for that to dry and I do one more coat after that and I'm completely done. So then you can decorate, either decorate your own home or bless someone else with your artwork. Whatever you do, let me know in the comments what you plan on doing with it or how you changed it up. I'd love to hear from you. And you could even make a copy of this and put it on a greeting card and send it out for Easter greetings to people. There's just a lot of ways you can use your art besides hanging it up on your own walls, because after a while, if you continue to paint, you're going to end up with very little wall space to put your art. So there's other things you can do with it for sure. You can donate it to a foster care program to decorate their rooms. You can give away as gifts like I talked about before. Just thinking about those things. Get creative. Let me know in the comments what you end up doing. Thank you for joining me for this project. If you'd like to join me again, consider subscribing to the channel and pushing the bell button to be notified when I upload. On Tuesdays, I upload step-by-step tutorials for the very beginner, and then on Fridays, I upload projects like this. I hope to see you again soon.